A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got 'em!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Football weekend is almost over. One more game tonight. We got a lot to get to here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you guys live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. We're going to review the entire Eagles game and situation with Chris Franklin coming up a little bit later at 6:20. Chris Franklin from NJ.com. He'll get into it with us because the Eagles season is done, and I feel like almost nobody can agree on why it's done. So we're going to try to get some clarity for you guys here. Plus, we'll get you some thoughts on tonight's Monday Night Football game, review the football weekend, and more right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Text board is 609-403-0973. We are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN, and you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. I got to start the show off with this point. And this is going to probably offend some certain people's sensibilities. If you are the person out there who says Jalen Hurts is the reason why we lost the game, or you're the person who says Nick Sirianni is the reason why they lost the game, or you're the person who says that Jonathan Gannon is a horrible defense coordinator, I'm here to tell you you're all wrong. The Eagles lost the game because everyone on some level did something wrong. Guys couldn't catch the ball. Hurts was late on throws. His mechanics were poor at times. Sirianni made bad play calls. It took Gannon about 2 drives to finally start shutting down Brady. By then, it was already 17-0. Nobody had a good day yesterday. And you could argue the guy who had the best day was Gannon, and that sounds ridiculous to say because you still lost 31-15. But I'm here to tell you something. You know why you lost 31-15? Because Tom Brady was on the other side. It doesn't matter. No Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown. Mike Evans a little banged up. Gronk's not 100% healthy. No playoff Lenny, no Leonard Fournette, no Rojo, no Ronald Jones. It doesn't matter because you still have a quarterback playing at an elite level going against a defense that really only has 3 high caliber players on the defensive side of the ball. And that's it. Got Slay. To me, Hargrave and Fletcher Cox are kind of like half and half. So you put them together, they make one elite player. And then you got guys like, everybody else. Linebackers. Linebackers. Yawn. It's not great. With a league that is changing all these coaches, all these assistants, all these jobs, another GM opening just opened up minutes ago. Ian Rappaport's reporting that Mike Mayock will not be retained. That didn't take long. I almost wonder because the Schefter report came out an hour and a half ago that said that the Raiders were going to conduct GM interviews. Maybe Mayock said, I need an answer yes or no right now if I have a job. And maybe Mark Davis told him, pack your stuff, get a box and leave. But in a league where there's all this turnover, right? The Eagles made the postseason in a year that was supposed to be a rebuild, and everybody lost yesterday. Look, I'm not sitting here and acting like anyone should be voided of responsibility, all right? But I think that compared to some of the responses out there, I'm going to be more measured. So let's break it down just a little bit. Nick Sirianni had arguably his worst play calling game since week 2 versus the 49ers. I don't understand what the plan was for the first quarter of that game. Whatever it was, it should never be used again. It should be burned. It should be put somewhere you never find it again. I have no idea what they were trying to do. I really don't. And I don't think anybody else does either. What was Sirianni trying to do with some of those play calls? It was unimaginative. It was lacking creativity. It was lacking foresight. It felt like Sirianni was trying to be the smart guy again. And he outthought himself. He put his quarterback in a bad situation, and he asked Jalen Hurts to bail him out. Well, guess what? Like more than half the quarterbacks in the NFL, Jalen Hurts was unable to bail out poor coaching. I had this conversation with some people online last night. Part of the problem in the world of Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and Facebook is that people have these platforms that just vomit things into the universe. Jalen Hurts doesn't suck. Dak Prescott doesn't suck. But you know what they both have in common? Neither one of them could overcome the bad decisions by the people who are talking in their ear. It's a very simple equation. Unless your name is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, I'll even throw in there a little Russell Wilson when he's healthy, because that last game of the season, that was Russell Wilson again. That was a Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson that we're used to seeing. Unless you have a guy of that caliber, it's hard for the quarterback and the team to overcome bad coaching, bad decision making, guys dropping balls, offensive linemen blocking. I don't understand how Dallas Goedert keeps dropping passes. I don't understand why Jalen Reagor is still on special teams at all. I don't understand why every Eagle fan and Troy Aikman is screaming at the TV or at the game, why are you not targeting Devonta Smith? And it takes the Eagles till late in the second quarter to even notice he's open at times. I don't understand how you have a quarterback coach in Brian Johnson and an offensive coaching staff that the Eagles do, who are all asking Jalen Hurts to do things that is above and beyond his current capability. And it's frankly above and beyond most teams' capability. It doesn't matter who you are. I know we make fun of Dak Prescott for doing that silly hip thing in practicing. You know why he does that? Because it's part of his mechanics. When Jalen Hurts doesn't set his feet, when he doesn't use his lower half of his body, he typically throws bad passes or interceptions. It's like clockwork. If I can see it, what are the Eagles coaches telling him? Now, I don't know, because I'm not there and neither are you. So to blame one person or one position for yesterday's loss, I think is completely flawed. Everyone failed. Everyone lost. Everyone did a bad job. Now, I'm not saying Sirianni and Mike McCarthy are the same. Okay, I know I kind of lumped them in together. I do believe that Sirianni is a more responsible individual than Mike McCarthy is in terms of decision making and things like that. he had a bad day yesterday. And Sal Palantonio was on with Mike Gill earlier today, and he said something that really concerned me. Sal Pal told Mike Gill that when he spoke to Nick Sirianni after the game, and he asked him about the run blitz and picking it up, that it was like Sirianni had no idea what he was talking about. Either Nick Sirianni is in denial right now, or Sirianni is in over his head at this point. Now, I'm not going to bury the guy because I think Sirianni has made incredible strides from the guy who came off as a complete buffoon in his opening press conference, talking to nobody particular, to the guy who was very hyper in the Howie Roseman press conference, to the guy who wouldn't name a starting quarterback when it was clearly they were putting one guy out there with the first team in training camp, to the guy who helped this team win 7 out of 9 games. He has made great strides, but yesterday he regressed, and it affected the entire team. I had said over the weekend I was concerned about the young coaches going into this game. But when push came to shove, I honestly was a little more concerned about Gannon than Sirianni because I assumed that Sirianni had figured it out. I was wrong. I thought the Bucs would win the game, but the Eagles would keep it close. I was wrong. And it's all because I assumed the wrong young coach was going to choke the game away. And that ended up being Sirianni. And the Eagles still almost came back in the second half and tried to make it a close game because Hurts is that competitive and this team is that messed up. They need a lot of help. And if Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie called me right now and said, Josh, what do you think we should do? I would say, without having to think about it, I would say without having to catch my breath, I would look directly in their eyes if I could. And I'd say, gentlemen, you need to get more talent. It's a very simple equation. You do not have enough talent at receiver. You do not have enough talent on the defensive linebacker and secondary positions. You do not have enough talent in a multitude of areas on this roster. Congratulations. You made the playoffs because you found a winning formula. You got away from that winning formula in your playoff game. And Tom Brady and Bruce Arians took advantage of you. It's a very simple equation to me. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we are live in the Matt Black Kia studios. Chris Franklin from NJ.com, the beat writer for them over at NJ.com. Eagles beat writer will join us coming up in just a bit. One of the things I did get right over the weekend was the 49ers being the Cowboys. And I had said multiple times that I just don't believe in Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy makes me feel very smart today. That team had so many penalties yesterday. And as Jeff says on YouTube, seeing Cowboy fans so miserable is the greatest thing ever right now. I don't like seeing people miserable, but I do like seeing people who were very egotistical humbled. People assumed the Cowboys were going to win that game. I didn't assume that because you can't assume that a buffoon like Mike McCarthy is going to do his job right. And while I kind of feel bad for the young lady who's now become a famous meme for crying at the Cowboys game, I don't feel bad about the Cowboys losing. You can't have that many penalties. You can't have that many opportunities missed. You can't have that kind of poor game management throughout and then be surprised when Dak Prescott makes the wrong decision with 14 seconds on the clock. Because he has not been instilled with responsible decision-making the entire game, the entire season. And you're shocked when Dak can't do the right thing at the end of a game? I'm not shocked. I'm surprised it wasn't worse. Mike McCarthy was the worst head coach entering this postseason. He proved that point. I thought it was Rich Bisaccia, and I thought Mike McCarthy and him were right there neck and neck. Mike McCarthy lapped Rich Bisaccia in terms of being a complete imbecile yesterday. And now Rich Bisaccia is probably going to be asked to not be the head coach of the Raiders and stay on as a special teams coordinator. And he's going to make a decision if he feels like that's worth it to him. You know, several years ago, Bruce Arians basically was, well, he should have been unanimous coach of the year when he took over for Chuck Pagano when Chuck Pagano had cancer and led that Colts team to the postseason. Arians had to make a decision. Do I stay with the Colts and be the second fiddle again, or do I go somewhere else and become a head coach? I think Arians made the right decision for his career. Bisaccia is going to make the same decision. Does he stay and become second fiddle again, or does he try to become a head coach somewhere else? Because I think the Raiders proved on Saturday that Bisaccia understands these players a little better than people like me gave him credit for. And when it comes to coaching decisions this weekend, in a world where Bill Belichick got thoroughly outcoached and outplayed and out everything by the Buffalo Bills, Rich Bisaccia looked way better than McCarthy, looked way better than Sirianni yesterday. That's saying something. We'll dig deeper into the Eagles. What do the Eagles do next? We'll ask NJ.com Eagles beat writer Chris Franklin next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN.
For the first time ever, the NFL playoffs will feature a game on Monday night. Hi, this is Kevin Kugler of Westwood One. Join us for the conclusion of the Super Wildcard round of the NFL playoffs. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals meet their NFC West rivals, the Los Angeles Rams. Kurt Warner, Ross Tucker, and I will be in LA to bring you all the action. From the Wildcard round all the way to Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, the NFL playoffs are right here.
It's the NFC Wildcard round on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Chevy says, we want your vehicle, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We can help with expert appraisers on hand to help you get more, and you don't need to buy one of ours. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett Chevy is an authorized lease return center for all brands. Looking to trade? Bennett will give you a minimum $7,000 for any clunker, no matter the condition or mileage. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And if you've got a good quality trade, you can only imagine how much more Bennett will pay. At Bennett Chevrolet, you always have options. Sell us your vehicle, there's no purchase necessary. Trade your old clunker, get a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Bring us your high-quality vehicle and have our expert appraisers make you an offer you can only imagine. And if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett can help. So whatever your needs or whatever you choose, at Bennett you'll always get more, because nobody beats Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here hanging out with you guys. Look at your guys' thoughts and comments, just the best messages coming in on the YouTube channel at 973 ESPN. We also got 609-403-0973 is the text board. And, of course, we can be reached and listened to on the 973 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Joining us right now to get more into the Eagles. The Eagles season is over. What does that mean? What is next for the Birds? Chris Franklin joins us from NJ.com. Talk more about it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Chris, I just need to know, are you joining Jonathan Gannon in his world tour of head coaching interviews?
If he needs an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach, I can bring a little offense into it. It might be a little spread. Throw some elements of throw a run game in there. But, yeah, other than that, it looks like I'm staying around this area for a time.
The Gannon thing, let's start there real quick, because, there's a lot of news out there right now about people doing interviews, people obviously Mayock losing his job and with the Raiders. There's a lot of Eagle fans who are like, get Gannon out of here, this guy. But I feel like of all the people yesterday who didn't do their job, I honestly got to say Gannon did better than I expected, so I can't be that surprised that he's getting job interview requests.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when you look at the numbers for Gannon, the defense, I mean, we've seen the eye test where you look at the defense and you're like, wow, there's a lot of holes, a lot of things over the course of the season, but somehow they're finishing like they're in the top 10 in some things, and like the top 12. They're basically a top 12 defense statistically. So I think a lot of people are looking at that and going, hey, you know what? With the pieces that they had in place here now, he did a good job for what he had. There's still some things that he has to work on, and still some things like there's some decisions I still question, like not having Slay follow Mike Evans all game and some of the other defensive strategies that he used. I think that's still a thing. But for a guy who was in his first season being defensive coordinator, I think you could have done a lot worse.
What was worse was, honestly, Chris, I think that was potentially Sirianni's worst coached game since the 49ers game. I thought that, I made the assumption, and maybe I was wrong to think this, or I don't know, but I assumed that Sirianni learned his lesson. He would just stick to the run game and just say, hey, man, this is what got me here. And I felt like Sirianni was like, nah, I'm going to change it up. And it seemed like he left his team out to dry. And by the time they finally got back to the run game, just felt like it was too late.
And a lot of times we hear about the thing, football is complementary. I wonder if it was one of those things, but in a bad way for the Eagles, and the fact that Tom Brady was moving that ball up and down the field against the Eagles defense. So I wondered if he felt like he had to score quickly on offense, abandoning the thing that helped him out in the long thing, when he, in effect, I felt that he should have been running the ball a lot more to keep that Buccaneers offense off the field. And they were trying, I'll give credit, they did the right thing in trying to attack the edges, because Vita Vea he's just a really good defensive tackle, and it's hard to move him out the spots. But it just seemed like for some reason there's like either guys were missing blocks or their running backs were finding the cutback lanes, because there were a few yesterday. Miles Sanders had one that if he saw it, just I believe it was in the second quarter, but if he saw it, he'd probably still running right now, probably running all the way back to Philadelphia. It was little elements there. It's like the team like you mentioned the San Fran game. It's like the team reverted back to the time when they were 2-5, and it cost them, and that's why they're basically looking at the offseason right now.
And it's because of my frustration with Sirianni. I'm not going to pile on Jalen like some other people are, Chris, because to me, did Jalen make some bad throws? Yes. Did Jalen not always make the right decisions? Of course. But we have this attitude of when we talk about quarterbacks, like I had Cowboy fans tweeting at me that Dak sucks last night. And I'm trying to explain to everyone that unless your name is Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, unless you're on that level of player, very rarely can you make up for bad coaching. Very rarely can you elevate everyone around you that no matter who is around you, that you can be successful. And to me, it's not that Hurts is a bad quarterback. It's that I just don't think that the people with him helped him. So it made him and his mistakes look worse.
See, I think it was more personnel, if anything. I think Sirianni definitely, didn't help at all a lot. But I still look at the personnel and the fact that they basically effectively, by the way Todd Bowles schemed that defense against them, they shut down Dallas Goedert. They forced Hurts to basically try to long balls and try to take other stuff away. Hurts did miss Devonta Smith all the time, and and this is probably going to your point a little bit more. I thought Sirianni should have gotten the ball a little bit more to Devonta Smith early on to get him involved because he's your best wide receiver. But
right.
He basically said, okay, I want Quez Watkins or Jalen Reagor to beat me. And there's not that many options that you look at that way. So I think that's more of a front office thing where you don't have that third option that was there to help you move the ball down the field. And that's something that this team obviously has to address, because if they come back with the same trio of wide receivers of Smith, who I have confidence in, Watkins, who you see flashes, but I still am a little concerned about his route running, and it's been that's Sunday's game is just another time at incidents where he gave up on a route, and then Jalen went to him, and then Jalen Reagor, who we've seen, it just seems like, to me personally, it seems like a lost cause at this point. They need a veteran wide receiver at this point. They do.
NJ.com Eagles beat writer Chris Franklin joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at C Franklin News. Check out all of his Eagles and Sixers coverage, by the way, over at NJ.com. Chris, you mentioned the wide receivers. First of all, Goddard, I don't understand. First of all, he also has to be blamed because he keeps dropping balls. I don't understand what his problem is. I mean, even Troy Aikman on the broadcast was screaming, I don't know why they're not throwing Devonta Smith the ball. You know, like it's to the point where this situation with the receivers, it's just so obvious to me that if Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie called me or you on the phone, we're like, dude, like you just said, Chris, you got to get some veteran help in here. And I don't know if that's Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know if that's Allen Robinson. I don't know if that's trading for Calvin Ridley. But whatever it is, it's not drafting another receiver. And no offense to the receivers in this draft, but the Eagles have enough young guys. You got to get something more than what you got, like you said.
Yeah, the last thing this team wants to be is become Detroit Lions and selecting wide receivers every year in the first round, because we've seen how that turned out. They wound up eventually getting Calvin Johnson, but look at all the three other wide receivers they had go through. It was a cavalcade of just bad decision after bad decision.
Yep.
And I think it'll definitely help out in the long run when it comes to just the room itself. I mean, Greg Ward is the older brother of the older brother of that group, and he's done a good job getting these guys acclimated to the NFL game, and he's done so much in that room. But to have a truly a veteran guy who is a top tier, for me, I'm dangling one of those first round picks or a second round pick to see if we can get Ridley. That, to me, I think that's the best thing, because we've heard so many times about Sirianni talking about route running and the precision it takes. Well, the best route runner in the league is Calvin Ridley. He's got the speed. He's familiar with Jalen Hurts. He's familiar with Devonta Smith.
Right.
It'd be a quick thing. So something like that, they just need a guy like that to come in, because if you do, look at that offense, the way that the problems it was set up, and they definitely need some help there.
The other thing they need help with is, and I don't even know if there's a right answer for this, you know, if let's say Jonathan Gannon does become a head coach somewhere, because we know anything can happen. Brandon Staley got a job after being on his job for only a year. So it's not out of the question that Gannon could get one of these jobs. My concern is who you bring in to fill in for him. I know every Eagle fan is screaming names like Mike Zimmer. I'm not saying it has to be a Mike Zimmer, Chris, but there's a part of me that says, you know what? You didn't get the veteran guy when you first got the staff together. Maybe now is the time to break up all the graduates from the frat house and maybe bring in an elder figure into the room to be in there and be like, hey, Nick, I've been around the NFL longer than you've been alive. Just might be a good idea. I'm just saying.
Well, the reason why I like Zimmer is I think you won't have that much of a change from what you're doing right now, but I think you'll have a veteran voice to do that. Reason being, he'll be another sounding board for Sirianni to bounce some ideas off of. You had Gannon come from his system. He coached under Zimmer beforehand. I think he better utilize the defensive line a little bit more. I don't think you'll see a season where they finish next to last with sacks. I think you'll see a little bit more of aggressive defensive line. The other, and also I think with the it's 4-3. This team is more suited for a 4-3 right now because we know they're pinching for trying to get linebackers, and it's not that great. So to have to try to convert like Brandon Graham when he eventually comes back to be a stand-up guy, to have Fletcher Cox having to revert back to a 3-4 defensive tackle, defensive end, I think it'd be better suited for 4-3. That's why I think Zimmer would be the better fit. But I really truly feel in my heart of hearts that Gannon's coming back. I think next year will probably be the time where you're possibly looking at future replacement defensive coordinators.
Well, Chris, speaking of the defense, we know they need help on defense, and I don't even know if there's like a specific thing they have to get first, but I just keep saying you got 3 first-round picks. Stop worrying about Jalen Hurts and worry about building this team with more talent. And Chris, they need linebacker help. They need secondary help. No offense to Steven Nelson, but I think they need better than Steven Nelson out there in that secondary. I think they need better than Alex Singleton. And when TJ Edwards went down yesterday, I thought that was a huge damage to this team and how they were able to function defensively. Like you can't lose one guy and it had that much of an impact. And I'm not saying it has to be a specific position. I'm just saying go out and get everything.
Yeah, and this is a defensive focused draft for me if I'm the Eagles. I'm looking at one already. It's still early on in the process, but looking at some of these prospects.
Sure,
I'm a huge Sauce Gardner fan. I really think that him coupled with Slay, you got 2 guys who can man up one-on-one to take away receivers. So you have Slay who can travel. You have Gardner, I believe, can travel as well too. You have 2 of those guys right now. You just bought some time for your defensive line now to get home to the quarterback. So I think that's one. Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd, either one, I think the Eagles should seriously look at doing, because having a three down linebacker on this team to couple with TJ Edwards, even I know he's signed the extensions back in 1 year, and then you have Alex Singleton who's a restricted free agent. But just to have another 3 down linebacker, so that way you're not rushing guys in and out, and somebody with range, I think will be huge for this team. And I think that they're going to trade that first round pick. I don't know if it's trading down toward the second round or maybe like 31 to get another first rounder next year. So that way they give them some more options in case something with Hurts this in 2022 doesn't work out. But the focus has to be on the defense, because I think that's where there's still some more deficiencies than opposed to what you have on offense.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Chris. They basically have 3 picks in the span of 6 spots. There's a part of me that wonders, is it smarter to trade down and get another first round pick next year, or is it smarter to combine 2 picks and move up in the draft? I'm not saying either one is what I would say to do, but I'm just saying I think that's a decision that has to be made as well, because, if you're trying to get the best possible player, you've already traded up to get Devonta Smith. You've already traded up to get other players in the past. This might be a situation where you don't want to miss out on a Nakobe Dean or a Alexander from Notre Dame or someone like that, just because you're too far down the spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think only if they have if there's an edge rusher, like say Karafidis somehow zooms up the draft board, or Kyle Hamilton somehow starts sliding down to like that 8-9 spot, then I think that's where you start to seriously consider, all right, maybe maybe you take one of the 15 and you package a third rounder, or 15 and then a future pick, a 2023 pick, and move up that. That's why I think that having these extra picks will give Roseman some ability to move up and down. Packaging both, the only way I'm potentially doing that is if I'm moving up to get like Kayvon Thibodeau or Hutchinson. And I don't think they'll be able to move up that.
Well, you did say pass rusher.
Yeah, I think Karafidis would be the guy. Karafidis would be the guy I'd probably look at. But if they somehow got 15 and 16, move all the way up, and threw another pick and moved up to number 2 to get Kayvon Thibodeau, I think he's that dynamic of a guy. But we know how general managers really, really like to take care of those first-round picks, so I don't see that happening. I mean, it'd be nice to do. And there's not a quarterback to me. Kenny Pickett, I don't foresee him going at Matt Corral. I don't see a guy going at – I don't think they should touch a quarterback, period, unless it's a 7th-round developmental guy they want to use for Gardner Minshew when he eventually leaves. But, yeah, unless it's a top-tier cornerback or a pass rusher like Karafidis or Kyle Hamilton that's starting to slip down, I'm standing pat for those 15 and 16 at least anyway.
I love Thibodeau. I think Hutchinson is overrated. I like Ojabo. I like Kyle Hamilton. I think there are some names out there that we just mentioned. I'm curious to see what Howie wants to do more and who's in his ear. You know, they just fired Mike Mayock. You know, you bring in Mike Mayock to be the next John Dorsey in the draft room this year. I feel like Howie recycles every former GM and lets them have a conversation, have a say in the organization at this point.
Well, you know, if they say like you have your talk about the tree, the GM trees, I don't know. He's got a lot of like leaves and small little plants that are growing around him right now, because it seems like everybody comes to the Eagles just for a cup of coffee or stay a year or two and then go elsewhere. To have Mayock, I think I value Mayock's opinion when it comes to draft stuff. I think he's got a really good eye for talent. The Leatherwood stuff, I don't think that was the best thing to choose at that time. But for the most part, he's got a really good. He brings a lot of really good insight. So if it's one thing where he's bored, he's itching to get back, he doesn't want to do Notre Dame football anymore. He's like, hey, I still want to be doing something in the NFL. I give a call to him as soon as possible. Going, hey, Mike, sorry you got let go. Help us out with the draft here and be a big difference here in Philadelphia. So I did it in a heartbeat.
I mean, it seems like everybody else who works for the Eagles gets a job interview elsewhere. So,
are you get your call yet?
I haven't been that close to the building. You're closer to the building. You have a better shot than me.
No, they would not want my thing. You know that blow some things off.
He's Chris Franklin, Eagles beat writer for NJ.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at @CFranklinNews. Also, don't forget about the No Huddle Show podcast. Chris and Mike K from NJ.com talk Eagles on the podcast. Like, subscribe, give it a 5-star review, all that good stuff as well. Chris, always appreciate you jumping on, and I'm sure we'll be talking again in the near future, considering the Eagles always like to stay on the front side of the page of the news. Let's call it that.
Yeah, they don't like to be bored. So, yeah, I'll be available. And it's always great talking to you, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Good stuff from Chris Franklin there. We got some comments coming in on the YouTube channel at 973 ESPN. The text board is open as well at 609-403-0973. And, of course, you can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City with all your messages on the other side right here on Game Night. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you till 7 p.m.
For the first time ever, the NFL playoffs will feature a game on Monday night. Hi, this is Kevin Kugler of Westwood One. Join us for the conclusion of the Super Wildcard round of the NFL playoffs. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals meet their NFC West rivals, the Los Angeles Rams. Kurt Warner, Ross Tucker, and I will be in LA to bring you all the action. From the wildcard round all the way to Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, the NFL playoffs are right here.
It's the NFC Wildcard Round on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Bennett Chevy says, we want your vehicle, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We can help with expert appraisers on hand to help you get more, and you don't need to buy one of ours. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett Chevy is an authorized lease return center for all brands. Looking to trade? Bennett will give you a minimum $7,000 for any clunker, no matter the condition or mileage. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And if you've got a good quality trade, you can only imagine how much more Bennett will pay. At Bennett Chevrolet, you always have options. Sell us your vehicle. There's no purchase necessary. Trade your old clunker. Get a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Bring us your high-quality vehicle and have our expert appraisers make you an offer you can only imagine. And if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett can help. So whatever your needs or whatever you choose, at Bennett you'll always get more because nobody beats Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, final segment of the show. I want to hear from you guys out there. You can chime in. We're live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. 609-403-0973 is text. We're listening on the radio. Of course, we are able to DMS and stream through the 973 ESPN mobile app. We are your home for Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, the NFL playoffs, the NCAA tournament, and more, all right here, 973 ESPN FM. I am Josh Hennig, hanging out with you on a Monday night. A bunch of messages coming in over on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to get as many of you guys as possible. And we'll also get to the guys over on the text board and on DMs on the app as well. Over on the YouTube channel, a lot of people have some thoughts on what the Eagles should or shouldn't do. I'm hoping I'm saying this right. Wayo595 says, Eagles didn't play great as a team, but I'm surprised the defense played better than the offense. Yeah, man, I think that that's an understatement because when you force Brady and the Bucs to punt 7 times, that tells me you figured something out. Gannon made in-game adjustments. He didn't start the game very well defensively. They just kind of ran out of steam at a certain point, and the Bucs were able to pull away in the end. Gannon did a better job coaching than Sirianni did. I thought that the defense did everything they could. They finally got to Brady. They sacked him a few times. They hit him a few times. Derek Barnett was a little extra zealous. Probably a reason why he won't be here next year. I think it's fair to say Derek Barnett, the era of Barnett in Philadelphia is out the window. I think that he's the only way he comes back to the Eagles, he comes back on a discount, and it's like an incentive-laden deal. You know, maybe they put a incentive in his contract that for every game, if he averages like a certain number of penalties, he doesn't get a certain amount of money. I don't know. They got to do about the penalties. The penalties are horrible with him. But you're right. The defense did outplay. You know who else's defense played very well this weekend? You're talking about the 49ers defense. I know everyone's complaining about the Cowboys offense. I thought the 49ers defense played incredibly high level overall, from the pass rush to coverage and secondary. They lost guys throughout the game to injury, and they still kept playing as a high level as they could. I think the 49ers, they're going to give the Packers a run for their money. But I think that we don't always value defense because we're so obsessed with offense. I'm telling you guys, I really do think that the defense has got to be considered here. Tyrone chimes in and says the Eagles need to make all 3 picks in the first round, 2 defensive players and a wide receiver. And he goes on to say, does Tyrone, he says, the Eagles should get an edge rusher, Lloyd or Dean, and then go get Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver. A couple things. I love what Lloyd from Utah and Dean from Georgia bring. If the Eagles end up with either of those guys, I think you're going to be happy. The problem I have with Wilson is, as I told Chris Franklin earlier, I want to see a veteran receiver here. I want to see them draft another guy. I want to see them go get an Allen Robinson. If you want to trade for Calvin Ridley, it's fine. Just make sure you know he's in the last year of his deal. If you want to go out and get a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, you're probably getting him on an incentive-laden deal. It's nothing against Wilson or Olave. I'm just a big believer in getting a veteran receiver in here. When it comes to the edge rushers, look, I've been saying for almost 2 years now, I'm a huge Kayvon Thibodeau fan. I love what he brings to a defense. He is the guy to me. I don't want Hutchinson. I think he's overrated. I like Ojabo. I think he brings a lot in here. Karlaftis, I like him. I don't love him. Okay. When it comes to some of the other edge guys, again, some of them are good, but they're not great. Like I said, I like Ojabo because I think he's the better athlete. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Ziggy Ansah. Remember when Ansah was with the Lions in that 5-year period where he was like this freakazoid before the injuries wrecked his body? I think Ojabo's got some of that in him. I like what he brings to the table. Jackson of USC is interesting. I don't love him, but again, he's interesting. He's a guy you may want to get later in the draft. You got to get an edge rusher, though, because I think that with Brandon Graham getting older, Barnett proving that he's not the guy, you got to get somebody. I mean, even maybe a Logan Hall in the second round. That might make sense as well. Shane chimes in and says, draft both wide receivers from Ohio State. Here's the problem, Shane. Then you're going to have overlap. You're going to have a guy who's almost the same as Devonta Smith. I think that Chris Olave and Devonta Smith are similar players in terms of style, in terms of execution, in terms of being these guys who are these elite route runners who can slip in and out of formation situations. But like I said, if you can get a veteran receiver, it makes you having a drafted receiver a little bit less necessary. Jeff chimes in and says, I hope we get an edge rusher with one of our first round picks. Jeff, you and me and every St. Eagles fan. They need more pass rushers, not because they can't rush the passer, but because they have no depth. Ryan Kerrigan had the game of his life on Sunday this season. It was the best game he had in the Eagles uniform, and it took him to get to the postseason to do it. That's a bad, bad look. James chimes in and says, Mechie, the wide receiver from Alabama. Again, I don't hate these receivers from Alabama. I'm not against drafting a receiver. I'm just against drafting a receiver and not getting a veteran. If you don't get a veteran receiver in free agency, then drafting a receiver doesn't fix the problem. The problem is that all you're doing now is loading up the wide receiver room with a bunch of young guys. You need a veteran who can set the tone for the rest of the guys. That's why I keep seeing you get a veteran receiver. All right, before we get out of here, a couple things. One, we salvaged the weekend, okay? We went 1-2 on our picks on Saturday, and we went 2-1 on our picks on Sunday. So we're an even 3-3. So hopefully we can get the job done tonight. I like the Rams to win. I like the over 48.5 tonight. So hopefully we can get a win here and move on with a winning record out of the postseason, because I never thought the Patriots would be destroyed like they were. There were so many field goals in the Bengals-Raiders game, it was doomed to hit the over at a certain point. And listen, I told you 49ers outright. I told you Chiefs at least cover the 13.5 versus the Steelers. Speaking of the Steelers, I was having this conversation on Twitter at Josh Hennig the last 24 hours. Ben Roethlisberger is a future Hall of Famer. But the Steelers, they got to figure out what they're doing with the quarterback position. To me, I don't think the guy is Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. If you want to hang on to both of them and hope you get a guy in the 2022 draft, maybe. But we're in a league right now that's going to have a lot of quarterback turnover. Denver's going to look for a quarterback. Steelers looking for a quarterback. The Browns may be trading away Baker Mayfield. Kirk Cousins may be traded away by the Vikings. The Lions, they need a quarterback. Texans, depending on what they do with the head coach position, they may be trading Watson and drafting another quarterback, maybe bringing in a veteran, and then trading their pick to somebody else to draft a quarterback. I wonder if teams like the Steelers are just going to go the safe veteran route. Maybe get a Jimmy G. We're talking about it. You're on Game Night all week. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff.